Lily, scream really loud.
No.
Come on, do it.
Penis.
Oh, crap.
That is
I swear.
What a wonderful start, huh?
I swear to God. That is what all Constitution classes should say.
We have proof. Expel her. Expel her.
That's beautiful. That's great. Way to go. All right, the executive branch. The role of the executive branch is to do what? Good, they enforce laws. We are starting today on page 13. Okay? Head of the executive branch is whom? The president. The executive branch also includes the vice president, and it also includes the cabinet. The cabinet is the president's advisory group. Okay? So the president will serve a 4-year term. Again, I'm working off both this and the cheat sheet right now. Okay? You must be, to be the president, 35 years old. Notice that House 25, Senate 30, President 35. All right, so it goes up in age in terms of importance. You must be a 14-year resident of the USA. And you must be native born. You cannot have been born in a foreign country and immigrated. So you can do that to be on the Senate, in the House, in the judiciary, but for the president, you must be a natural born citizen, which is why with Obama, we heard all of the baseless information about him being born in Kenya, and those would be called birthers, those people who tried to say that he was not in he was not born in the United States. That would be what those people were arguing for. Yeah.
Do we need to know how old you need to be in the Senate? Or?
I would know those. So the key to doing it is if you remember it's 35 or 25. If you remember one of them and know it's 5 years going each way, that's a simple way to do it. But the piece of it is it sort of shows the significance of each role, right? So within the federal government, the House is sort of the entry level, the Senate is the mid range, and the president is the top, right? So that's where the age limits come in. Okay?
So you have to be native born
To be the president or the vice president
and then 14-year resident
of the United States. So you could be born in the United States, go live in Europe for 20 years. So long as you've lived in the United States for 14 years, then you can be president.
14 years total?
Correct.
Or not, like in
Total.
Okay.
Total.
What does it mean, like native born? Any of the U.S.
You have to have been born either in the United States, all right, or you can be born in a United States territory. So, for example, if you are born in, let's say, Afghanistan, but you are born either on a U.S. base or on the U.S. embassy grounds, that is considered American territory. So you can be born in those spots and then be considered an American. All right. So this is where we see interesting questions with illegal immigrants. If you are, let's say, an illegal immigrant from Mexico and you have a child in the United States, that child is an American citizen because they are born in the United States, but the parents are not. And so if you deport the parents, you can't deport the kid because the kid is an American citizen, which leads to some really interesting issues that we've faced with illegal immigrants. Okay. So, how you are elected president? You are elected through the Electoral College. The Electoral College takes your number of senators and your number of representatives. So we have 10 in Minnesota, and that would be the number of electors that you have. When you look at the map of the United States, on election night, you have to get to 270 electoral votes in order to be named president. We'll talk about that We'll talk about that more in regular class, but the Electoral College is what you have there. All right? Succession of the president on page 14. Okay? The way it works is that you start with the president. You then go to the vice president. Next up is the Speaker of the House. Following him or her is the President pro tempore of the Senate, which is a position that does not have anything to do with the amount of time that you've been in the Senate. It actually is not the leader of the Senate. It is just a role that you have in there. And then number 5 is the Secretary of State. Our Secretary of State right now is whom?
Hillary Clinton.
She was the Secretary of State. She was the one before our current one. Anyone know who it is? Secretary of State now is John Kerry, former Massachusetts senator. He did. He ran for president. Yeah, he ran in 2000. He ran in 2004. Ran against Bush. And then following that is members of the cabinet in order of the oldest cabinet position to the newest cabinet position. Frankly, when you get down here, it's not going to get to this stage. The ones I want you to know are 1 through 5. Okay? Because of this, whenever the government meets as a whole, so for example, the State of the Union address, where the president speaks to the country, always one of these 5 people are not there in case a bomb was to go off and kill the government. You have at least one member in the succession chain that is off-site and usually in a protected spot. And that is in order to keep the government running. We have never gotten past vice president. All right?
What do you mean we've never got, like, is this is the Electoral College?
No, this is it. So if the president dies, you go to the vice president. If they both die, you go to the Speaker of the House. If they all 3 die, you go to the president tempore, right? So we've never gotten past the president and the vice president never died at the same time.
So right now, if our president and vice president died, then
John Boehner would be the president. Yeah, John Boehner would be president.
Who is the president pro tempore
Of the Senate? I don't know who it is right now.
I feel like
It's not anyone. It's not an important. It's not necessarily like Harry Reid, for example, who is. So you would expect it might be Reid, who would be the head. Has the Democrats control the Senate? It's not Reid. So.
okay.
We'll look it up at the end. Let's remember to do that. Okay. All right. So page 15, powers of the president. Okay. The president has the power to he has the power to approve or veto bills. Right. We talked about that yesterday. He makes treaties. He makes treaties with foreign countries. He nominates judges. To both federal and the Supreme Court. All right. He appoints cabinet members. And finally, he is the commander-in-chief. Chief, IEF, of the military. Okay? These are his duties, along with being the chief executive officer. All 3 of these things must be approved by the Senate. Okay? Treaties must be approved by a 2/3 of the Senate. All right. This is his check. Now, most often, they are going to approve a treaty. The judges is where it's tricky. And we see this with Supreme Court justices. And this is where I think the presidential elections get the least play, is that when you can nominate a judge, the judges will talk about determines what is constitutional and what's unconstitutional, determines laws. So if you are able to nominate judges, you can really set the social path of the United States that we see. And so, for example, when Obama is done, in the next 8 years, there will probably be 2 justices who retire. When they retire, if you put in 2 liberal-leaning justices, let's say, and Obama's already put in 2 liberal-leaning justices, that would be 4 relatively young, democratically leaning justices that will set policy for the next 20 or 30 years. So it's important for things like gun control, abortion, gay marriage, right? These are where those social issues end up getting decided. So we see that. The president must also give a State of the Union address. He does that in February. And we go with that. The last thing that we need to talk about with the president, with the executive branch, is impeachment. The president does not participate in impeachment because he is the one that would be impeached. All right? Under the Constitution on page 16, Section 4 states, the president, vice president, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. Okay? Now, 2 presidents have been impeached, as we said, Johnson and Clinton. Neither of them committed these crimes, thus they were found not guilty of impeachment. All right? So you can be charged with it, but you cannot be convicted in theory unless you fall under these categories. So if we look at the people who are saying we need to impeach Obama, like Michelle Bachmann says, because he has passed Obamacare, right? Passing a law does not fall under these categories, right? So you have to follow along with this. Treason is going against the United States. Selling secrets to another country, something like that.
What was Clinton
Clinton
on?
was impeached for lying under oath regarding some business dealings and Monica Lewinsky. We'll talk about all that stuff a little later. He had an affair.
Well, yeah, I knew that. So is that?
That was part of it. No, it was nothing. And so he was found not guilty. Right.
And then what about
And then high crimes and misdemeanors are like if you kill somebody, if you like commit like a.
No, I'm saying what was the other president?
Johnson was following the Civil War for basically disagreeing with the Congress about how the United States would be rebuilt. Okay. Yeah.
Is it like a voting process? They get the vote?
Yes. The 100 members of the Senate determine it. Yeah. And if there's a tie, then the vice president would be the one to break the tie. Okay. Other questions? Okay. That's the executive branch. All right.